Hey, greetings. Michael Didier here. Today we're going to look at something new. We haven't done this before. I haven't done this before. And we're going to talk about Song of Songs, the Song of the Songs. Many people call this the Song of Solomon. I think it's really a misnomer. It's the Song of Songs. Yes, Solomon wrote it, but it's the Song of Songs. He wrote 105 songs. Here it says in 1 Kings 4:32, he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. This is one of the 1,005 songs, but of 1,005 songs, this is the Song of Songs. Song of Songs. Sound familiar? Look what it says in Revelation. It says they sang, as it were, a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures and the elders, and no one could learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. These men were redeemed from the earth, sealed and selected because they knew the song. There's something in here that can help you, men, become one of those who is redeemed from the earth. And if you get redeemed from the earth, your wives and your children will be redeemed from the earth as well. Revelation 15:3 says this, they sang the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, the song of the Lamb. Great and marvelous are your works, my Lord Elohim Almighty. Just and true are your ways. What did it say in 14:3 again? They sang, as it were, a new song. It wasn't a new song. It was an ancient song that had been forgotten. It was a song that was given to Adam. It was a song that was given to Seth. It was a song that Enoch sung, and Methuselah, and Noah, and Shem, and Eber, and Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob. It's the Song of Songs. Yehovah is right now looking for one man in 46,500 that has ears to hear right now and become one of his sealed and selected men. Many will leave Babylon after the first great shaking of the earth, but comparatively few, 1 in 46,500, will come out ahead of time. But the one that will be the great ones in Yehovah's kingdom. This story is about coming out of Babylon. Come out of Babylon! And doing it right now. Isaiah 52:7 says this, how beautiful on the mountains are the feet who brings good news, who proclaims peace, who brings glad tidings of good things, who proclaims salvation, who says to Zion, your Elohim reigns. Not the Elohim of the earth, Yehovah, the Creator, the Elohim reigns. We follow his statutes, his judgments, and his ordinances. This story, this Song of Songs, is an allegory in a play format with 6 acts. I have marked out where the acts separates. 8 chapters, 6 acts. This book is the most misunderstood book in the Tanach. It is misunderstood because most think only in their flesh. We've got to put our flesh aside. We serve Yehovah in the Spirit. And that's not some ooey gooey, wishy-washy thing. To serve Yehovah in the Spirit is to come out of Babylon, to keep his statutes, his judgments, his ordinances, and live according to them, not according to the kings of the earth. If you have covenants with them, obey them. But if you do not have covenants with them, you can separate yourself and become Yehovah's. As I said, this book is the most misunderstood book in the Tanach. It is misunderstood because we think only in our flesh. Romans 5 says this: "For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh. But those who live according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." If you're going to live your life in the kingdoms of this world, folks, you're going to perish. Because the carnal mind is enmity with God, for it is not subject to the law of Elohim, nor indeed can it be. You can't serve two masters. Folks, men, open your wallets and you'll see who you serve. Isaiah 28, 9 and 10. Whom will he teach knowledge? Whom will he make to understand the message? This song is about the message. It's the song of songs. But who can understand it? Those just weaned from milk? Those just drawn from the breast? No, they won't get it. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, and line upon line, here a little and there a little. In order to understand what is happening in this play, we must know the code. The code. We have 4 principal players. That's not too much to keep separate. As I said, this is an allegory. Okay, most people look at this as if it's some straightforward story. It's not. It's an allegory. And in order to understand this play, we must understand what the metaphors represent. The maiden speaks. When you see pink, you'll know that this is the start of the maiden speaking. But the maiden isn't a maiden at all. The maiden is an individual man. Did you hear what I said? The virgin, the maiden, is an individual man. This story is about her journey in leaving the king. He's the antagonist. Solomon. Most people look like this is a love story between the woman and Solomon. You couldn't be further from the truth. This story is her journey in leaving the king, the antagonist, and coming out to the husbandman. He's the protagonist. And the husbandman, as we're going to see, represents Yehovah. This is what the story is about. You can always tell that it's the maid speaking because she refers to the husbandman as my beloved. As I said, you have to understand the code and the metaphors to understand the story, the allegory. Here's a good example. My beloved spoke and said to me, "Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. Come out of Babylon. Work in my field. Serve me. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both the young men and the old together. Who is the virgin? Folks, we've got to understand this. The virgin are men. Look what it says. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both the young men and the old men together. For I will turn your mourning to joy. I will comfort them and make them rejoice rather than sorrow. Here's another one. Second witness. For as a young man marries a virgin, so shall your sons marry you, Yehovah. And as a bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your Elohim rejoice over you, his sons. This is the virgin. Okay, so now when we're talking about the virgin in this story, we've got to think men. It's an allegory, remember. Husbandman is Yehovah. The husbandman, when he speaks, always refers to the maiden as my love. We have his comments marked in blue. When he begins to speak, his comments will be in blue. Yehovah uses men to make his word flesh and to speak to others. How beautiful are the feet on the mountain of the one who brings good news. These are men. The 144,000 are men. Elijah was a man. Elisha was a man. Moses was a man. Noah was a man. They're bringing the good news to the world. Our Elohim reigns. But it's the Father speaking through them, understand. Yehovah uses men to make his word flesh, to speak to others. These set-apart men in the last days will be the male child. They're the male child that are sealed and selected before the Father turns the world into a wilderness. These set-apart men of the last days will be the male child who will be Yehovah's representatives in the earth. Yehovah's message given through his set-apart men has not changed in 6,000 years. As I said, the message is this: our Elohim reigns. Yehovah reigns. Or he should. Here's a good example of the man speaking. First, the lady speaks. See, this is where it gets confusing. Here's the virgin, who is the men of this world who are being called out. She's saying, I sleep, but my heart is awake. It is my voice. It is the voice of my beloved. He knocks, saying, open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. This is Yehovah calling to his men. For my head is covered with dew, my locks with the drops of the night. Open for me, my sister. He's not talking about a door. He's talking about your heart. I sleep, but my heart is awake. He's saying, open your heart to me and come out. So we've covered two of our principal players. The woman, who is a man, and the man, the husbandman, who is Yehovah, or his representative speaking through him. The next primary character, I remember there's only four, are the daughters of Jerusalem. Whenever they speak, you're going to see it in yellow. They represent mankind, just mankind in general. They love the kings of the earth. They're very nationalistic. America, love it or leave it. Oh, makes me sick. But this is, if that doesn't make you sick, you're probably not going to like this teaching because you don't have the ears to hear the teaching. We're talking about another kingdom. We're talking about coming out of one kingdom and going into another kingdom, serving the master in his kingdom and bringing forth fruit. As I said, this has 6 acts. It's going to take me 6 teachings to put this together. This is the longest of them. The last character, and really a character that doesn't have much to say, is the king. He represents the governments of men. He's Solomon. The king loves the daughters of Jerusalem and count them as theirs. Oh, they do. If you've got a covenant with them, they count you as theirs. You know what? They don't want to lose you. But unfortunately, we've got pastors who are serving in this kingdom. We've got teachers, rabbis, all serving in the kingdom of men. Here's what the Father says about them. He says, "Woe to you shepherds who destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture." This is the husbandman. He takes care of sheep. He takes care of fruit, his vines, his fruit trees. Yehovah was to be their only king. 1 Samuel chapter 8. Israel had no king, and they petitioned Samuel for a king. Oh, it broke Yehovah's heart. Listen to what it says. They said to Samuel, "Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations." But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." So Samuel prayed to Yehovah. And Yehovah said to Samuel, "Heed the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day I brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, which they have forsaken me and served other Elohim." Elohim are the lawmakers and the judges of the earth. Lawmakers make statutes and ordinances. Judges make judgments. You took other Elohim and you're serving other Elohim. That's what we've done. Now therefore heed their voice. However, you shall solemnly warn them and show them the behavior of the king who reigns over them. So Samuel told all the words of Yehovah to the people who asked him for a king. And he said, "This will be the behavior of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons, appoint them for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some will run before his chariots. He will appoint captains over his thousands, captains over his 50s. He will set some to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and some to make his weapons of war and his equipment for his chariots." Sound like what we're in today? He will take your daughters to be perfumers, cooks, bakers. He will take the best of your fields, your vineyards, and your olive groves, and give them to his servants. He will take 1/10 of your grain and vintage, and give it to his officers and servants. Huh, a tenth. That sounds pretty good, huh? Now where are we at? 30, 40%? He will take your male child, your female servant, your finest young man, and your donkeys, and put them to his work. He will take a tenth of your sheep, and you will be his servants. And you will cry out in that day because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves. And Yehovah will not hear you in that day. No, he won't. You know what? The Father doesn't hear the prayer of the man who does not love his Torah. He says the prayer of those who hate his Torah is an abomination to him. But that's another story. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, "No, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like the nations, and that our king may judge us. Go out before us and fight our battles." Wow. Well, I'm going to stop here. We'll make this the first part. So I guess this is going to be 7 teachings. I've already gone almost a half an hour. Stay tuned. I think you're going to enjoy this. It's going to open your eyes. We have learned so many lies, my friends, worthless and unprofitable things, and we've got to set these things straight in the last days if we want to live. Keep in touch. See you next week. Bye now.